Samsung might be about to do something we've never seen before in its foldable lineup. Release not one, but two Galaxy Z Fold models in 2026. That's right, alongside the expected Galaxy Z Fold 8, Samsung is reportedly working on a completely different foldable with a wider, almost square screen design. And if that sounds unusual, it's because it is. Here's why this matters. For years, Samsung has dominated the foldable market almost single-handedly. But now, the competition is heating up fast. Google already has the Pixel Fold series, and Apple is expected to finally drop its first ever iPhone Fold next year. That's the kind of move that can shake up the entire industry. So Samsung can't just play it safe anymore. If Apple goes for an iPad-like experience with its foldable, Samsung wants to counterpunch with something that feels totally different. So what exactly is this mystery device? Right now, it's being called the Galaxy Wide Fold. The name isn't final, but the idea is clear. This foldable would ditch the taller, rectangular style of the current Fold lineup and instead use two 18:9 screens that create a near-perfect square, an 18:18 aspect ratio when unfolded. Imagine opening your phone and getting a shape that's closer to a tablet page or a digital notebook, rather than the slightly stretched rectangle we're used to. To put it in perspective, the current Galaxy Z Fold 7 has an 8-inch screen with a 10:9 aspect ratio, meaning it's already wider than a normal phone, but still pretty tall. Apple's rumored iPhone Fold is tipped to use a 4:3 aspect ratio, kind of like an iPad mini. Instead of following that route, Samsung seems to be looking more toward Google's playbook. The Pixel 10 Pro Fold, for example, uses a 1:1 ratio, basically a perfect square when opened up. That's the kind of design Samsung appears to be aiming for with this so-called wide fold. Now, the real question is who this is for. A wider square screen could be a dream for people who use their foldables mainly for productivity. Think about spreadsheets, split-screen multitasking, or even reading digital content in a format that feels more natural. But it could also feel a little awkward for watching video, since most content is made for 16:9 screens. So, while some users will love the idea, others might find it impractical. And here's where things get even more interesting. The wide fold might replace something else that fans were hoping for. The report suggests Samsung has no plans to release new fan edition foldables like the Z Flip FE or Z Fold FE in 2026. That likely means no cheaper entry-level foldable option next year. So instead of offering a more affordable fold, Samsung seems more focused on experimenting with form factors that stand out. That makes sense if you think about Apple's arrival. The iPhone Fold, even if it comes with a high price tag, will generate massive buzz. To compete, Samsung needs devices that grab attention for their uniqueness, not just their price. The wide fold could be Samsung's way of saying, we're still the innovator in foldables, and we can take this tech in directions Apple won't. Of course, it's not guaranteed. Reports from Korea suggest Samsung's final foldable strategy for 2026 is still being worked out and might not be confirmed until later this year. So the wide fold could still get scrapped, delayed, or rebranded entirely. But if it does launch, it would mark the first time Samsung offered two distinct fold models side by side in the same year. That alone would be a big shift. From my perspective, it's exciting but also risky. On one hand, it shows Samsung isn't afraid to experiment. The foldable market has always been about trying new ideas, and a wide square design could genuinely improve certain use cases. But on the other hand, if it ends up being little more than a novelty, it could confuse buyers who just want the normal fold experience. Worse, it might pull resources away from making a more affordable fan edition device, the kind of foldable that could actually bring more people into the ecosystem. So, how should you feel about all this? If you've ever thought the fold screens were too tall or cramped for productivity, this wide fold rumor is something to keep an eye on. But if you've been waiting for Samsung to make foldables cheaper and more accessible, this news might be disappointing. Either way, it signals one thing very clearly. Samsung is gearing up for Apple's big move, and 2026 is shaping up to be the most competitive year in foldables yet. In the end, the Galaxy Wide Fold might not be the mainstream device that wins over everyone, but it could play an important role. It reminds us that foldables are still evolving and companies are still figuring out what works best. Maybe the future of foldables isn't just about making them cheaper. It's about making them more diverse, So there's a foldable for every kind of user. And if Samsung really does go through with this plan, we'll all get a front row seat to see whether wider is actually better. What's your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comment section. See you in the next video. Take care.